Good morning, basketball world. This is Danny Thompson around the association, the podcast. This is the Wednesday edition of the podcast. Kicking to you things here on around the association's website, which is aroundassociation.com. Follow me on Twitter at Danny D8NY 3 as well as follow the show on every single major platform that holds this podcast, which includes places like Spotify, Spreaker, Podcast Addict, Google Play, Google Podcasts, as well as iHeartRadio, and pretty soon to be iTunes for the next probably week or two. This is the best 15 minutes you're going to find, covering anything and all things NBA from the night that you missed last night. And Tuesday night was a wonderful night around the league. Sorry there was an issue with the podcast yesterday, but we are up and going for today. And let's get started for what you missed last night in the NBA. Well, the big story came out in Chicago last night. This game turned into more than Anthony Davis's return home. After a couple interesting filled days of Anthony Davis talking and Anthony Davis answering questions the last 24 hours about his potential free agency and his hometown, Chicago. The Los Angeles Lakers went into Chicago and got off to a slow start, but a huge fourth quarter run led by Kyle Kuzma, 11 points. 11 of his 15 points came in that huge run as the LA Lakers took advantage of the Bulls blowing another lead as they won in Chicago last night, 118-112. LeBron James' third straight triple-double last night, 30 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists. Kuzma, like I said, finished with 15 points and limited minutes last night. Like I said, he's still coming off the ankle injury. He played limited minutes last night. They got 17 from Quinn Cook, and Davis had 15 points and 7 rebounds in his return back home. But like I said, this was a huge win for the Lakers last night. Once again, coming back from a big deficit in the second half, because really it wasn't LeBron. With LeBron and Anthony Davis on the bench, Kuzma started warming up, scored 11 points in the fourth quarter, including a huge run. That was a 16-0 run with that was about 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Their run ended, like I said, with Kuzma scoring 7 straight points in that run to put to bring the Bulls back bring the Lakers back from a lead that was pretty much you would think that would be insurmountable. Like I said, it was a huge fourth quarter from the Lakers, 38-19 in the fourth quarter. Really, like I said, Davis and James were on the bench. AD was in foul trouble. Lakers, they're reeling. Zach LaVine was into it. He had 26 points, like the Zach LaVine that we were wanting to see. They got help from Kobe White and Al Porter. They were scoring. They had 18 points apiece. But once again, Chicago could not hold the lead. Lakers are now 6-1 on the season, and they're rolling as they go into Miami. I think on Friday night, Thursday or Friday night, they take on the Miami Heat. Bulls have fallen to 2-6. Like I said, once again, blowing another big lead at home. In Cleveland last night, it's kind of interesting to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers, but it really wasn't about the Cleveland Cavaliers. It was about Gordon Hayward. Hayward tied a career high 39 points and looked like the Gordon Hayward that the Celtics had signed from Utah a couple seasons ago. Hayward's 39 points led the Boston Celtics to a 119-113 victory inside of, I keep saying Quicken Loans Arena, but it's a different building now. But Hayward stole the show last night. He went 17 of 20 from the floor. But the best part about Gordon Hayward's game was he went 16 of 16 from inside the three-point line. He didn't miss a single shot that wasn't a three-pointer last night. His 39 points, including a huge putback from off of Kemba Walker's miss with 22 seconds left, gave the Celtics a huge win on the road. Celtics played without Jaylen Brown once again. Marcus Smart was in the lineup for him last night. Smart only had 8 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, did all the little things. To keep the Celtics in defensively. Kemba Walker also had 25 points for the Celtics. Cleveland last night were led by Colin Sexton at 21 points. Tristan Thompson, another big game, 19 points, 13 rebounds. Kevin Love had 17 points and 9 rebounds. But it wasn't the Kevin Love we expected to see. The Celtics did a really good job of keeping him off the glass last night. Even though the Celtics were out-rebounded they actually out-rebounded the Cavs 45-44, which is interesting because the Cavs were one of the best rebounding teams in the league. And the Celtics did not have, they didn't have Enes Kanter available due to injury. He's still out. Hopefully, they could have him back by the weekend. Not sure. Still in practice. Jaylen Brown was, like I said, out as well too. And the outside of Carson Edwards, 13 points for the Celtics off the bench. They had a grand total of 11 points from everybody else off the bench. Cleveland is now They play competitive. They play a good game. Cleveland's now 2-5. Boston's now 5-1 to match Philadelphia as one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. Out in Buzz City, Charlotte took care of business in overtime, 122-120 over the Indiana Pacers. Devontae Graham's 35 points off the bench were a career high for him last night. Hornets, surprisingly, are now right or above at 500. They're above 500 this early in the season as they get ready for Boston on Thursday, but they're now 4-3. And they're getting it from guys that weren't really supposed to be part of this rotation. Devontae Graham had huge, like I said, his 35 points, but Bismack Biyombo came off the bench. And the one thing with Biyombo is that we've learned over the years that Biyombo is not a player that does very well with when he's a consistent starter. But when you need him to come off the bench and do something huge, Biyombo's had his best games where the Hornets or teams he's played with, especially Toronto, have needed him. Even Orlando when he was here, when he had to come off the bench or had to do something in a spot situation, Biyombo did it. Last night, Biyombo did it once again. He pretty much sat the bench the majority of the game, but in the fourth quarter gave this team a lot of energy, and that pushed them into overtime as well too. Biyombo finished with a stat line of 15 points and 6 rebounds off the bench, provided what the Hornets need was interior defense. Cody Zeller only played 17 minutes last night. Still, Zeller didn't play very well last night. Marvin Williams was also playing some backup center, but it was Biyombo's high energy and also the rebounding of Cody Martin. Martin had 11 rebounds off the bench. Didn't score a single basket, played 33 minutes, but the defense, his rebounding was key. And Graham's offense was just off the charts last night. He had, like I said, he had a team high 35 points off the bench. Terry Rozier knocked in 22 points to lead the Hornets in the victory last night. TJ Warren is broken out of his shooting slump once again, 33 points to lead the Pacers last night. Malcolm Brogdon, 31 points, 8 rebounds for the Pacers in the game last night. But really, it was Graham getting to the basket, Biyombo using his impact. Biyombo actually was scoring last night. So you know that Biyombo normally does things defensively, but he was providing offense as well as defense. And the Hornets needed this one. Now they had the huge game, and it's the emotional game on Thursday night when Kemba Walker comes back to town with the Celtics. But the Hornets are buzzing. They're 4-3. They're a team that's been a lot better than most people expected, including this guy right here. Pacers now fall to 3-4, and they get ready for their game, I think, on Friday night. Atlanta get the return of Trae Young. And they get Trae Young back. They lose John Collins earlier in the day, but the Hawks found a way to beat the San Antonio Spurs 108-100 last night. Trae Young was on a minute restriction last night. Lloyd Pierce said, we're going to play him 30 minutes. And guess what? Young played 29 minutes. But his play in the second half led the Hawks to a victory. 28 of Young's 29 points came in the second half. He had a extremely slow start to the game, but Trae Young warmed up. Jabari Park had 19 points. The Hawks got their first win since Trae Young broke a 3-game losing streak. First victory since Trae Young went down last week was what thought was a severe ankle injury against the Miami Heat. It was a huge fourth quarter for the Hawks. Again, a day, like I said, they transitioned the Hawks because of the loss of John Collins. Collins is now suspended for the next 25 games due to he got popped with a HGH hormone, which broke the anti-drug law. The third player this season to be suspended because of that for 25 games. Joined the list is DeAndre Ayton, as well as the Brooklyn Nets' Wilson Chandler. We won't see Collins, who is appealing the suspension potentially to after the first of the year. The Spurs were led by DeMar DeRozan's 22 points, but really, like I said, it was all fourth quarter, all second half, all Trae Young. Young was doing it the way Trae Young does it best. He just puts on a drilling display, hits shots over people, and then on top of that, he was finding guys around the hoop. A huge in the game play that gave the Hawks a 7-point lead. When Trae Young got isolation on LaMarcus Aldridge, basically stopped Aldridge in his tracks and then hit cutting DeAndre Bembry for a dunk, gave the Hawks a 7-point lead, and that pretty much put the game away. Young got the crowd involved and knocked out a huge 3-pointer, like I said, to ice the game. Young also had 13 assists in the game. Hawks will be getting ready for the Chicago Bulls on Wednesday nights. Out in Denver last night, the Denver Nuggets took care of the surging Miami Heat 109-89. Denver got contribution from everybody. Jamal Murray, 21 points. The healthy and returning Will Barton had 15 points and 10 rebounds. This was a game that was pretty much a domination by the Nuggets. from the middle part of the second quarter on, Nuggets led by as many as 27. It was really mostly, like I said, because of the balance of the Nuggets last night. And like I said, Will Barton returning to the team and pretty much balanced that rotation out, giving them another scoring threat, especially when they need him. And Will Barton is one of those players that is a high energy guy and can make a huge impact when he's in the game. Jeremy Grant also had 15 points for the Nuggets. And the crazy thing is, for as good as he has been, this is the first time that he's been held under 100 points all season long. Jimmy Butler struggled last night, 3 of 12 shooting with 16 points because of Will Barton's outstanding defense. Barton is a very, very good two-way player, and when he's locked in, he's one of the best. He's one of the best. To me, one of the best guys off the bench, six man wise in the league when he's locked in. Last night was more of a star role for him. I think he should be starting going forward. It's good to see him back in the lineup as well too, and also for the Heat fans, it's good to see Justice Winslow back in the lineup. He played 30 minutes last night, 10.6 rebounds. It just really wasn't the Miami Heat's night. Adebayo struggled from the floor. Kendrick Nunn had his second straight bad shooting game. Nunn only he had 11 points on 4 of 14 shooting. Maybe Nunn started to come back down to the earth a little bit. 2 games in a row under 20 points. Well, the first game was against Houston when he was in foul trouble, and then he struggled again shooting tonight. So Olynyk had 13 points, but give the Nuggets credit for bouncing back. They got back home. They took care of business. They used a lot of defense last night, and really this wasn't Nikola Jokic at all. Jokic had a quiet night. Jokic finished last night with 9 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists in 22 minutes. But like I said, it was much more of a team effort. Nuggets had 6 guys in double figures in a 109-point victory. Like I said, Nuggets now 5-2. The Heat also fall to 5-2. And finally, out in Oklahoma City, the Orlando Magic fall to the Oklahoma City Thunder 102-94. It was all about the Thunder backcourt last night. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Chris Paul combined for 44 points. In that starting group, Steven Adams returned to the lineup after missing a few games. He had a double-double, 11 points, 11 rebounds. The Magic just struggled once again, and guess what? They still have not hit 100 points. The Thunder had a huge lead against the Thunder, but they turned it up on defense in the second half. And really, it was just about executing, as Billy Donovan said to his team last night. They scored. Chris Paul took the game over and looked like the Chris Paul of old. He scored 8 of his 20 points in that final 2 minutes and 9 seconds in the game. Also finished with 6 assists. And the Thunder have now held opponents under 100 points for the 4th time this season. Orlando still has not hit the 100-point barrier, and they still have seemed to struggle. In the fourth quarter, the Magic went cold in the fourth quarter last night. Only scored 15 points. The Magic had 6 guys in double figures, but in the NBA, if you can't get things done in the fourth quarter, especially in back and forth games, it's just not going to happen. The Magic are now 2-5, and they're reeling. They cannot seem to get it going. The team that we saw last year is still playing defense, but the offense still hasn't found itself. The Magic were led by Aaron Gordon's 15 points and 8 rebounds. But really, they did a good job on Vucevic last night. You got to give Steve Adams a lot of credit, holding Vucevic to 4-15 shooting. Terrence Ross, the team's leading scorer off the bench, only had 6 points last night. DJ Augustine had 13. Markelle Fultz, 13 points, 4 assists, and 3 rebounds last night. It just really wasn't the night. Evan Fournier with 0 for 7 last night. They just could not find anything going, especially late in the games, and especially if Evan Fournier is not hitting shots, that is a problem. So before we get into Wednesday night's games, the stud of the night once again, of course, you gotta say it's LeBron James. 3 straight triple doubles. The Lakers win again. James it's looking like LeBron. LeBron is not slowing down. It's like people think this might be an off year for LeBron James, but this might be one of his best seasons coming about. I think he's more focused and motivated than anything else in the entire league. Like I said, 3rd straight triple double, the 3rd straight Laker victory, cannot stop that. Let's look at Wednesday's games. 9-game schedule in the NBA going into Wednesday night, capped off by the marquee matchup. Well, it's going to be the marquee matchup out in Los Angeles. The Milwaukee Bucks take on the LA Clippers on Wednesday night, ESPN 10:30 game. Now, before we get going and talk about this finals preview, Kawhi Leonard will not play tonight for the Clippers. Kawhi will be out due to, making sure that he's not, you don't want to say load management, but with the Clippers playing a couple of games in a couple of nights, Kawhi's going to be out again. So it's going to be Kawhi will be out, but the Clippers are still a very good basketball team. This will be a good test to see where the Bucks are. Both teams are 5-2. Other games on the schedule, since ESPN has a doubleheader on Wednesday night, the early game for ESPN will be Golden State and Houston. This is a different type of game. Both teams are reeling. Golden State won a very, very good game, changing the momentum and fortunes of their team with the victory the other night against Portland Trailblazers, led by Eric Pascal's 35 points and 13 rebounds. The Rockets are still trying to figure out what's going on. Russell Westbrook will be back in the lineup. It was nothing serious why he missed the other night, but it was due to, coming off the injury, not wanting to play in back-to-back situations. The Rockets are back at home. Can Eric Gordon get back in the lineup, and can Eric Gordon start hitting shots? D'Angelo Russell is still questionable. We don't know if he's going to be able to go. This should be an up and down track meet. That game's at 7:30 on ESPN. We'll start at the top. We'll start the rest of the East games going west. Knicks Pistons, 7 p.m. on NBA League Pass. Pistons are still not sure that Derrick Rose is going to be available, but don't worry. Andre Drummond has been killing the rebounding game. And every time Luke Kennard scores, the Pistons seem to win. Knicks are at 1-6. RJ Barrett's been a very, very big bright spot. Problem is there hasn't been too much else going bright besides Marcus Morris. Question for the Knicks tonight is, will they get Elfrid Payton? Payton's injured. Not sure about his status for tonight, and we don't know also about the status of Dennis Smith Jr. as well as Reggie Bullock. We're not sure they're back with the team either. Wizards Pacers coming off a heartbreaking loss in Charlotte last night. They'll be returning home and take on a Wizards team that is still trying to find his rhythm. Wizards did play well. It did play well the other night against Detroit in their victory over the Pistons. I think it was on Monday night. Bradley Beal is starting to find his jump shot again. And also Isaiah Thomas, if he gets back in the starting lineup, could IT improve off a rough shooting night from the night before. Rookie Rui Hachimura going against the Pacers front line that could be without Miles Turner, could lead to him having maybe his best game of his career, his young career. Hawks and Bulls play in Atlanta. There should be an up and down affair. The real question for the Hawks is, will Trae Young play an extended number of minutes against tonight? Remember, he played last night. It wasn't back-to-back. He was limited to 30 minutes. We'll see how he does in that ankle. Can the Bulls learn how to hold the lead? We learned last night they're starting to blow leads like it's crazy. The Bulls need to find Zach LaVine needs to extend his jump shot more, and the Bulls front line should feast on a Hawks team that's missing John Collins on the interior. Once again, Raptors and Kings. Raptors at 4-2, taking on the Kings. The team is 2-5. The Raptors should be able to run up and down the floor. Pascal Siakam is off to a really good start. You've really only had one real interesting game so far in the first 6, but it's been very, very consistent. Kyle Lowry has been knocking down shots. The Raptors have looked really good against the Kings team that struggled the other night. They got their second victory of the season, but the Kings have a lot of talent. Buddy Hield, De'Aaron Fox, Bojan Bogdanovic. This team is still missing Marvin Bagley. Bagley should be back soon. And when Bagley gets back, it should balance out the offense as well. But I get the Raptors in this game tonight. Timberwolves and Grizzlies, the 4-2 Timberwolves. Hey, get Karl-Anthony Towns back. Cat fans and fantasy basketball fans of Karl-Anthony Towns should be happy. He's had a couple games off, and he should feast on the front line. That Jonas Valanciunas is still not 100% healthy and is still not playing 100% of a lot of minutes. Ja Morant is leading the Memphis Grizzlies, and they've been getting balanced average from everybody else as well, too. But remember, the Timberwolves are now getting their star player back, and that should be an interesting one. Magic play a back-to-back tonight as they go into Dallas to take on Luka Doncic, Kristaps Porzingis, and the Dallas Mavericks. The 4-2 Dallas Mavericks. One of the surprise teams in the NBA, because like myself, I didn't think the Mavericks would be this good this soon. Doncic is just fresh off of having one of his better stretches of his NBA career. And then the Magic struggle against guarding guards. We'll see how Luka goes against Markelle Fultz and see if will potentially get it to be up and down. Can Nikola Vucevic get off on Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleber and those guys in the front line? Will be yet to be seen. And Kevin Fournier's jump shot joined the road trip. Dallas and Utah will play at 9:00 in Utah. Big game for the Sixers. They struggled the other night in their first loss against Phoenix, especially Ben Simmons, who went missing in that game. Mike Conley has been missing for the Jazz. So I'll say it like this. Whoever point guard that actually shows up in this game, their team will actually win. Because the Jazz have been relying so much on Donovan Mitchell, they need Mike Conley to show up in a consistent game tonight against a Sixers team that still will return Joel Embiid from suspension. They're going to need all the scoring help they can get. That game will be at 9 p.m. as well, too. So we've got you ready for tonight's games. We want to know how you feel about your team last night. The Lakers have basically shown the league right now they're going to be the most dominant team in the league going forward. And we have some good matchups. Can the Clippers survive and beat the Bucks without Giannis, especially not having Paul George? Or is Giannis going to have a field day on the Clippers because who's going to guard Giannis? Follow me on Twitter at DannyD8 and then number 3 Thompson. Also follow the Around the Association podcast. Like I said, subscribe to it, share it, pass it everywhere along. We're now providing everywhere with everybody with a whole bunch of new podcasts, new shows. And guess what? We're going to start covering college basketball as well, too. Check out aroundtheassociation.com. And speaking of college basketball, my top 25 player edition came out yesterday. And we'll have the top, I'll do my NBA power rankings as well as rookie rankings coming out in the next 24 hours. So catch us on all sorts of social media. We're happy to be here. We'll be here for you guys here tomorrow. So this is Danny Thompson around the association. Peace.